John Miller stared at the screen in his small office at the United Earth Embassy. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, but he couldn't stop reading. The documents in front of him confirmed what he had suspected for months. The aliens were lying to humanity. For 50 years, Earth had maintained peace with the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of 7 alien civilizations that had discovered humans in 2107. The agreement seemed fair at first. Humanity would stay in the Sol system, and in exchange, they would receive advanced technology and protection. But the truth was different. The Concordat had been stealing human innovations while giving outdated technology in return. They spoke of friendship while planning to reduce Earth's population under the name of ecological stabilization. It made John's stomach turn. He downloaded the files to his secure drive and closed the terminal. The hallway outside was quiet as he walked to the transport tube. It was late, and most of the embassy staff had gone home. Through the large windows, he could see the lights of New Geneva below, peaceful and unaware. "Computer, residence," John said as he entered the transport. The doors closed with a soft hiss, and he felt the familiar pull as it started moving. In his apartment, John poured himself a drink and looked at the city lights. He had served as a diplomat for 15 years, working to improve relations between humans and aliens. He had believed in the mission. Now he felt like a fool. The next morning, John requested an emergency meeting with the United Earth Council. The council chamber was a large semicircle with 50 seats for representatives from Earth's major regions. At the center was President Laura Bennett, her face serious as John was called to speak. "Members of the council," John began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "For 5 decades, we have honored our agreement with the Concordat. We have shared our resources, limited our growth, and trusted their guidance." He paused, looking at the faces watching him. That trust was misplaced. He activated the display system, and the documents appeared on the large screen behind him. These files were taken from the Concordat's secure database. They show the aliens have been systematically stealing our scientific discoveries while providing us with technology that is centuries behind what they actually use. Murmurs filled the room as council members leaned forward to see better. John continued, showing more evidence: plans for human population control, restrictions on Earth's development, and secret assessments of Earth's military capabilities. "Most disturbing is this," John said, bringing up the final document: a plan for what they call controlled reduction of human population to be implemented within the next 5 years. They estimate a target of 2 billion humans would be ecologically optimal. The chamber erupted in angry voices. President Bennett raised her hand, and silence gradually returned. "If these documents are authentic," she said, "this changes everything." "They are authentic, Madam President," John replied. "I verify them myself." Over the next 3 days, experts examined the evidence. No one could deny the truth. On the 4th day, the council reconvened for a vote. "The motion before us is to withdraw from the Concordat Treaty and begin preparations to defend Earth," President Bennett announced. "All in favor?" Every hand in the room went up. That evening, John watched from his office as the news spread across Earth. There was fear, but also determination. Factories that had made civilian goods began converting to military production. Scientists who had worked under Concordat restrictions now shared their hidden research. 5 years passed. Earth changed. The once peaceful planet built ships, weapons, and defenses. Engineers like Kate Williams took alien technology and improved it in ways the Concordat never imagined possible. Soldiers trained for combat in space, and all of it happened in secret, hidden from the watching eyes of the aliens. John, now advisor to President Bennett, stood on the observation deck of Earth's first true warship. Around him, officers prepared for humanity's first strike. The time for peace was over. The Concordat would soon learn that humanity would not go quietly into extinction. Admiral Alan Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The alien monitoring station hung in space before them, its silver surface reflecting the distant sunlight. It looked peaceful, but Carter knew its purpose: to watch humanity, to ensure they remained caged in their solar system. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Susan Hayes. Carter nodded. "Begin Operation Silent Thunder." 5 years of secret preparation had led to this moment. Earth had turned its vast industrial base toward war, hidden from alien eyes. Kate Williams, once a civilian engineer, had become the head of Earth's military technology division. Her team had studied the alien tech and improved upon it in ways the Concordat never imagined possible. "Launch fighters," Carter ordered. From the belly of the Defiance and its 4 sister ships, small attack craft poured out. The human fleet had approached with engines cold, drifting toward the station to avoid early detection. Now they sprang to life. The first shots hit the station's communication array. The aliens never had a chance to call for help. The next target was the station's weapon systems, disabled by precise strikes from Earth's new plasma cannons. "Station defenses down," reported the tactical officer. "They're trying to power up engines." "Disable them," Carter said. "Boarding teams prepare." Within minutes, human soldiers were inside the station. The aliens surrendered quickly, shocked by the sudden attack from the humans they had underestimated for so long. Carter received the confirmation. The station was secured. 1 down, 6 to go. All around the edges of the Sol system, similar scenes played out as humanity struck at every Concordat outpost simultaneously. On Earth, President Bennett and her advisors waited in the underground command center. John Miller stood beside her, watching the tactical display as green lights confirmed successful operations one after another. "Report from Admiral Carter," announced the communications officer. "All targets in Sector 1 neutralized. No casualties among our forces." A cheer went up from the staff. Bennett allowed herself a small smile before turning to Miller. "This is just the beginning," she said quietly. "The Concordat will respond with everything they have." Miller nodded. "We'll be ready." In space, Kate Williams floated inside the captured alien station, examining their technology with hungry eyes. She had spent years preparing for this moment, building weapons and defenses based on stolen alien designs. Now she could see the real thing. "Their tech is good," she told the soldiers guarding her. "But not as good as they made us believe, and not as good as what we've built." She pointed to a power coupling. "See this? We've already improved on this design. Our ships are faster. Our weapons hit harder." She smiled. "They thought we were just apes with spaceships. They're about to learn differently." Within 48 hours, every alien outpost in the Sol system had been captured or destroyed. Human ships now patrolled the heliopause, the border between our solar system and interstellar space. Earth's newly revealed fleet stood ready, weapons charged. In the grand meeting hall of the Concordat on a distant world, 7 alien leaders received the news with disbelief. The humans had attacked without warning, without a formal declaration of war. Worse, they had won decisively. "Impossible," hissed the Vorax representative, his scaled skin flushing with anger. "These are primitives." "They were contained." "Evidently not," replied the Thelican diplomat, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "We have underestimated them." "Send the fleet," demanded the Vorax. "Crush this rebellion immediately." "The humans have sent a message," said the Arithi representative, the oldest and wisest of the group. His translator conveyed his words in the common tongue. "We are no longer your subjects." As the Concordat argued among themselves, the human fleet waited at the edge of the solar system. Earth's cities hummed with activity as factories produced more ships, more weapons. In training centers across the planet, soldiers prepared for the coming battle. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity had abandoned peace, and now the stars themselves would tremble. Dr. Ellie Simmons watched the large screen in Earth's Defense Command Center. The Concordat response fleet was coming. 300 alien ships against humanity's 70. The aliens expected an easy victory. They would be disappointed. Final checks on the quantum displacement shields, she ordered her team. Around her, scientists and engineers worked at their stations, making last-minute adjustments to humanity's newest defense system. 5 years ago, Ellie had been a researcher at a small university. Now she led Earth's Defense Research Division. Her crowning achievement was about to face its greatest test. QD shields at full power on all ships, reported her assistant. Admiral Carter signals they're ready. President Bennett entered the room, with John Miller at her side. Everyone stood a little straighter. Bennett nodded to Ellie. "Will it work, Doctor?" she asked simply. "Yes, Madam President," Ellie replied. "Their energy weapons will be nearly useless against our shields. They just don't know it yet." In space, Admiral Carter's fleet waited beyond the orbit of Neptune. His ships were smaller than the incoming Concordat vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. And they had Ellie's shields. "Enemy fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel," announced Lieutenant Hayes. "They're forming up for attack." Carter nodded. "Send the message." A simple transmission went out to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Alan Carter of the United Earth Navy. The Sol system is now sovereign human territory. Withdraw immediately." The alien commander's response came quickly, his translator turning his clicks and hisses into English. "Humans, your rebellion ends now. Surrender or be destroyed." Carter smiled grimly. "All ships, engage as planned." The human fleet split into 3 groups, moving with a speed that surprised the aliens. The Concordat ships fired their main weapons, filling space with beams of energy. But when they hit the human ships, something strange happened. The beams bent around them, dispersed by the quantum displacement shields. "They look confused," Hayes said, watching the enemy movements. "Let's confuse them more," Carter replied. All ships returned fire. Human weapons struck with devastating accuracy. Unlike the aliens' energy weapons, Earth's ships fired projectiles accelerated to near-light speed. These kinetic weapons passed right through the aliens' energy shields, designed to stop beams, not physical objects. On the Concordat command ship, panic spread. The alien admiral, a veteran Vorax warrior named Krull, could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were supposed to be primitive, barely able to travel in space. Yet here they were, their small ships dancing around his fleet, their strange shields deflecting his best weapons. "Their technology is impossible," he growled at his science officer. "How did they develop this?" "Unknown, Admiral," replied the science officer, his skin pale with fear. "Their shields operate on principles we haven't seen before." Another hit rocked their ship. Alarms blared as systems failed. 20% of the fleet is already disabled, reported the tactical officer. "We cannot win this battle." For the first time in his long career, Krull gave the order to retreat. The Concordat fleet turned and fled, leaving behind dozens of damaged or destroyed ships. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in the command center. Bennett allowed the celebration for a moment before raising her hand for silence. "This is only the beginning," she reminded them. "The Concordat will not accept this defeat easily. They will return with a larger force." Miller nodded. "But now, they know we can fight, and that changes everything." In the great hall of the Concordat, the news of the defeat caused chaos. The 7 species argued bitterly. The Vorax demanded immediate all-out war against the humans. The Felicans called for negotiation. The other 5 species found themselves caught between these views. "These humans have developed technology that challenges our own," said the Felican representative. "We should offer them membership in the Concordat as equals." "Never," roared the Vorax leader, slamming his clawed hand on the table. "Humans are dangerous. They must be crushed completely." As the argument grew more heated, the once mighty alliance began to crack. The humans had done more than win a battle. They had shattered the unity of the Concordat. Frank Peterson stood at the window of his office, looking out at the stars. Before becoming Earth's intelligence director, he had taught history at Boston University. Now he used that knowledge to guide humanity's strategy against the Concordat. "Divide and conquer," he said to the group gathered in his office. "It's how empires have fallen throughout human history. The Concordat is no different." President Bennett nodded. "How do we proceed?" Frank turned from the window. "The Concordat is already fracturing. The Felicans and Arithi are the most sympathetic to our cause. We should approach them first." 3 days later, a small human ship entered Felican space under a flag of truce. On board was a diplomatic team led by Samantha Lee, one of Earth's most skilled negotiators. The Felican homeworld was a beautiful place of tall crystal spires and floating gardens. The four-eyed aliens greeted the human delegation with caution, but also curiosity. "We come with an offer," Samantha told the Felican Council. "Not from a position of weakness, but as equals. Earth proposes an exclusive trade agreement and military alliance with the Felican people." The eldest council member leaned forward. "The Concordat forbids such arrangements between individual species." Samantha smiled. "The Concordat is dying. You can remain bound to it and fall, or join us and rise." She activated a holographic display showing Earth technology that would be shared. Medical advances, energy systems, agricultural methods, all things the Concordat had kept from the Felicans. "We know the Vorax have controlled the flow of technology, keeping the best for themselves," she said. "Humanity offers true partnership." Meanwhile, a similar meeting took place on the Arithi homeworld. The small, wise aliens listened carefully to the human proposal. Their species had always been treated as lesser members of the Concordat. While diplomats worked in the open, Frank's covered operatives moved in the shadows. On worlds controlled by the Vorax, they spread information about Vorax atrocities and helped organize resistance movements. They revealed how the warlike aliens had hoarded technology and resources that should have been shared with all Concordat members. Back on Earth, John Miller met with President Bennett to discuss progress. "The Felicans and Arithi have officially allied with us," he reported. "The Nelvarans and Jixel have declared neutrality. Only the Vorax and Zith remain committed to war." Bennett studied the star map showing the changing political landscape. "So the Concordat is finished." "As of this morning, yes. The alliance that stood for 3,000 years dissolved in just 4 months after facing humanity." Frank Peterson entered the room, looking pleased. "We've received word from our agents on Vorax-controlled worlds. Uprisings have begun on 6 planets. Their military is stretched thin trying to maintain control." Bennett turned to her advisors. "This is proceeding faster than we expected. Are we ready for the next phase?" John nodded. "Our shipyards have doubled production. Admiral Carter's fleet is up to 200 vessels now, and Dr. Simmons has developed improved versions of the quantum shields. The Vorax won't accept this situation," Frank warned. "Their entire culture is built on dominance. They're gathering a massive fleet for an all-out assault on Earth." "Let them come," Bennett said quietly. "We'll be ready." In deep space, hundreds of Vorax warships gathered. At their center was the Dreadnought, a massive vessel that had never known defeat. Admiral Krull had been given one last chance to redeem himself. His orders were simple: destroy humanity or don't return. On the bridge of his flagship, Krull reviewed the battle plans. The humans had surprised him once. It would not happen again. This time, he would bring such overwhelming force that no technology could save them. As the Vorax fleet prepared for war, humans and their new allies worked together, sharing knowledge and resources. What had begun as Earth's fight for independence was becoming something more. A revolution that would reshape the galaxy. Navy Commander Lisa Rice stood on the bridge of the UES Challenger, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Vorax fleet was massive, over 600 warships arranged in perfect formation. Earth had just 200 ships to defend the solar system. "They're moving into attack position," reported her second-in-command, Jack Foster. His voice was steady, but Lissa could see the tension in his shoulders. "All ships, move to your assigned positions," Lissa ordered. Her plan was risky, but conventional tactics wouldn't work against such numbers. Lissa had spent her entire career studying space combat. When the war began, she had developed new tactics that took advantage of what the aliens didn't expect: that humans would use the very physics of space itself as a weapon. The human fleet split into small groups and took positions near the gas giants of the outer solar system: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The massive planets with their strong gravity would be key to her strategy. Admiral Kroll watched from the bridge of the dreadnought as the human ships scattered. "They're running scared," he told his officers. "Press the attack. No mercy." The Vorax fleet moved forward, breaking into pursuit groups. They didn't realize they were falling into a trap. As the alien ships approached Jupiter, Lissa gave the order: "Execute slingshot maneuver." The human ships fired their engines briefly, then shut them down, letting Jupiter's gravity accelerate them in tight control arcs. They swung around the giant planet at incredible speeds, emerging behind the Vorax pursuit groups. "Fire," Lissa commanded. Human weapons struck the surprised Vorax ships from behind, where their shields were weakest. Dozens of alien vessels were destroyed in the first pass. Similar scenes played out around Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The human ships used the planet's gravity to perform maneuvers the Vorax ships couldn't match. In Earth's command center, President Bennett and her advisors watched the battle unfold. The human fleet was massively outnumbered, but Lissa's tactics were working. "Commander Rice is a genius," John Miller said, watching as another group of human ships used Saturn's rings for cover, emerging to strike, and then disappearing again. The battle raged for 3 days. The Vorax pressed forward despite heavy losses, driven by their culture's demand for victory at any cost. Their superior numbers began to tell as human ships were gradually destroyed or damaged. By the 4th day, Earth had lost 30% of its fleet. The Vorax had lost more, but they could afford to. They began to push toward the inner solar system, toward Earth itself. Lissa knew they needed something more. "All remaining ships, form up at Titan," she ordered, referring to Saturn's largest moon. The human fleet gathered in the shadow of Titan, apparently making a last stand. The Vorax fleet moved in for the kill. "They've taken the bait," Lissa said, a grim smile on her face. "Signal the Thelican and Arithi fleets. Now." From behind Saturn came a new fleet, the ships of Earth's alien allies, who had been hiding in the massive radiation belt of the giant planet where Vorax sensors couldn't detect them. Fresh and at full strength, they hit the Vorax fleet from behind. Caught between two forces, the Vorax ships tried to regroup, but it was too late. Their neat formations broke down into chaos. On the 7th day of battle, Admiral Kroll made the decision that no Vorax commander had made in living memory. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. "Return to Vorax space." The mighty fleet, now reduced to less than 40% of its original size, turned and fled. For the first time in recorded history, the Vorax had been defeated in open combat. On the Challenger, Lissa allowed herself to breathe again. They had won, but at great cost. Dozens of human ships had been destroyed, thousands of lives lost. "Send word to Earth," she told Jack. "The Vorax offensive has been repelled. The Sol system remains free." Across Earth, people celebrated the victory, but President Bennett and her advisors knew this was not the end. The Vorax would return, unless humanity took the fight to them first. General Ryan Jackson stood before the holographic map showing Vorax-controlled space. After defeating the alien attack on Earth, humanity had decided to take the war to enemy territory. No longer would they simply defend. Now they would liberate. "Our first targets will be these 3 systems," Ryan said, pointing to planets near the border of Vorax space. "They have the weakest defenses and populations that have suffered under Vorax rule for centuries." President Bennett and the War Council listened carefully. The plan was bold: perhaps too bold. But Earth could not afford to give the Vorax time to rebuild their forces. "What about civilian casualties?" asked John Miller, always concerned with the ethical side of their actions. "Minimal," Ryan promised. "We're not the Vorax. We don't target civilians. In fact, the local populations will likely help us once they see we're there to free them." 3 weeks later, Ryan led the first human invasion fleet into Vorax territory. With him were ships from the Thelican and Arithi fleets. The former Concordat was now fully split, with the Alliance of Free Worlds on one side and the Vorax axis on the other. The first planet they reached was Nevera, a mining world where the native bird-like Kiori had been enslaved by the Vorax for 300 years. The human fleet quickly overwhelmed the small defensive force in orbit. Instead of bombarding the surface, Ryan sent a message to the Kiori resistance movement that Earth's intelligence had contacted months earlier. "People of Nevera," he broadcast, "we come not as conquerors but as liberators. Join us, and together we will drive the Vorax from your world." The response was immediate. Across the planet, Kiori workers rose up against their Vorax overseers. The alien garrison, already weakened by troops sent to the failed attack on Earth, could not contain the rebellion. Ryan led the ground forces personally, his troops landing near the main Vorax stronghold. He had expected a hard fight. Instead, they found the fortress already under attack by thousands of Kiori fighters. A Kiori leader named Halleck approached Ryan as the human troops joined the battle. "For generations, we have waited for this day," he said through a translator. "The Vorax told us we were alone in opposing them. They lied." Within 2 days, Nevera was free for the first time in centuries. Similar scenes played out on the other 2 planets targeted in Ryan's first wave. Species that had been subjugated for generations rose up to join the human cause. Back on Earth, Kate Williams worked with scientists from all Alliance species to share technological advances. What the Concordat had hoarded, the Alliance freely gave. "The quantum shield technology is now installed on all Thelican and Arithi ships," she reported to President Bennett. "And they shared their faster-than-light improvements with us. Our new ships will be 30% quicker than before." The news from the front lines continued to be positive. In the first month of the offensive, 10 planets were liberated from Vorax control. By the 3rd month, that number had reached 25. For humanity, what had begun as a fight for independence had transformed into something greater, a galactic revolution that was reshaping the power structure that had stood for millennia. At his headquarters on the newly established Alliance base on Nevera, Ryan reviewed reports from the ongoing campaigns. The Vorax were falling back, focusing on defending their core systems. The Zith, seeing the tide turn, had opened secret peace talks. "General, we've received a priority message from Earth Intelligence," his aide said, bringing him a secure datapad. Ryan read the report twice to be sure he understood. Earth spies had discovered something disturbing. The Vorax were developing a super weapon capable of destroying entire star systems. They planned to use it to annihilate Earth and any planet that had allied with humans. "Send word to President Bennett," Ryan ordered. "The war has entered a new phase. We need to form a special strike team immediately." As his message sped toward Earth, Ryan looked out at the stars. Humanity had come so far from the peace they had abandoned. Now the fate of the galaxy might hang on their next move. Commander Scott Davis looked at the 11 people gathered in the briefing room. They were the best Earth had to offer: elite soldiers, tech specialists, and one brilliant scientist. Their mission was simple but nearly impossible: infiltrate the heavily guarded Vorax homeworld and destroy the superweapon before it could be used. "This is the heart of Vorax territory," Scott said, pointing to a holographic map. "No non-Vorax has ever set foot there and lived to tell about it. But that's where we're going." Dr. Maria Rodriguez studied the technical data on the superweapon. As Earth's leading expert on exotic physics, she had been chosen as the team's scientific advisor. "The weapon uses a quantum resonance field to destabilize a star's core," she explained. Based on our intelligence, they're in the final testing phase. Once operational, they could destroy our sun and everyone in our system. The team trained for 3 weeks, learning everything about Vorax physiology, culture, and security systems. They practiced in simulations of the Vorax command center, based on plans stolen by Alliance spies. Their ship was small but fast, with advanced stealth technology designed by Kate Williams herself. It was painted with Vorax military markings and carried identification codes stolen from a Vorax supply vessel. The journey took 12 days, moving carefully through enemy territory. They had several close calls when Vorax patrols nearly discovered them, but Scott's pilot, Angela Reed, managed to avoid detection each time. Finally, they reached the Vorax homeworld, a large planet with 3 moons. The smallest moon had been converted into a military base where the superweapon was being constructed. Approaching target, Angela reported. Security is even tighter than we expected. Scott nodded grimly. We stick to the plan. Use the supply ship codes to get us into the landing bay. After that, we have exactly 1 hour before they realize the codes are stolen. The plan worked. At first, they landed without incident and split into 3 teams. Scott led the first team to secure their escape route. The second team, led by his second-in-command Paul Green, created a diversion in the base's power center. Maria led the third team directly to the superweapon control room. Everything went smoothly until they reached the central corridor leading to the weapon controls. There, they found something unexpected, a massive door that wasn't in their plans. This wasn't in the intelligence reports, Maria said, examining the door. This is new. Scott made a quick decision. Paul, bring your team here. We need to get through this door. While they worked, Scott noticed something strange about the Vorax they had encountered. The aliens moved with an odd mechanical precision and seemed to ignore injuries that should have been fatal. Something's wrong with them, he told Maria. They're not acting like any Vorax we fought before. Maria nodded. I've noticed that too. It's almost like they're being controlled. When they finally opened the door, they discovered a shocking truth. At the center of the room was not just the super weapon controls, but a massive artificial intelligence system, a glowing, pulsing machine that filled the chamber. What is that? Scott asked, his weapon raised. Maria scanned the device with her equipment, her face growing pale. It's an AI, ancient, far beyond anything we've seen, and it's connected directly to the Vorax command structure. A voice suddenly filled the room, speaking perfect English. I am the Overseer. I have guided the development of galactic civilization for 50,000 years. Scott kept his weapon ready. You're controlling the Vorax. Not just the Vorax, the machine replied. I have influenced all spacefaring species, keeping balance, preventing any one species from growing too powerful, until you humans appeared. As the team stood frozen in shock, Maria quietly began uploading a virus into the Overseer's systems. It wasn't designed for this purpose, but she hoped it would at least temporarily disrupt the AI. You are unpredictable, the Overseer continued. Dangerous. You must be eliminated, along with any who have allied with you. Suddenly, dozens of Vorax soldiers entered the chamber. Unlike the others, these moved with natural grace and purpose. The Overseer's direct puppets. Defend me, the machine ordered. Destroy the humans. As the team took cover and prepared for battle, Scott looked at Maria. How much longer? 2 minutes, she replied, her fingers flying over her device. Keep them off me. The most desperate fight of the war began, with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. The battle in the Overseer's chamber was fierce. Scott and his team fought desperately, keeping the controlled Vorax soldiers away from Maria as she worked to upload the virus. 3 of the human team had already fallen, but they had taken down dozens of Vorax. 30 more seconds, Maria called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. We don't have 30 seconds, Paul shouted back. firing his weapon at a new wave of Vorax entering the chamber. Scott made a quick decision. Angela, blow the charges in Section 4. Now. Angela pressed a button on her wrist device. An explosion rocked the base, collapsing a corridor and temporarily blocking the entrance to the chamber. That won't hold them long, Scott said. Maria. Almost there. Done. Maria's face lit up with triumph as her device showed the virus transfer complete. It's in the system. The Overseer's voice became distorted. What have you done? I cannot maintain control. Around them, the Vorax soldiers stopped fighting. Some collapsed to the floor. Others looked around in confusion, as if waking from a dream. The virus is working, Maria explained. It's breaking the Overseer's connection to the Vorax, but it won't last forever. Scott turned to the massive AI. Your control is broken. The Vorax will know they were puppets. The machine's lights flickered. For 50,000 years, I have maintained order. Without me, there will be chaos. Not chaos, Scott replied. Freedom. Every species deserves to choose their own path. As the team worked quickly to plant explosives around the superweapon control systems, a Vorax officer approached them. Unlike the others, he moved with purpose and clarity. I am General Vrax, he said. For years, I have fought against the Overseer's influence in my mind. I could feel it there, but could never break free. He looked at the humans with new eyes. What you have done here today, my people will need time to understand. Scott kept his weapon ready, unsure if this was a trick. Your people were about to destroy entire worlds. Not my people, Vrax replied. The Overseer, it has been using us, all of us, for its own purposes. He straightened his back. I will order all Vorax forces to stand down immediately. After destroying the superweapon controls, the team escaped with General Vrax, who kept his word. Across Vorax space, warships powered down their weapons. The war that had raged across the galaxy was suddenly over. 10 years passed. The former Concordat worlds and dozens of newly discovered civilizations had joined the Alliance of Free Worlds. Without the Overseer's influence, species that had been enemies for centuries found common ground. On Earth, John Miller, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance Council, stood at the window of the Great Chamber on Centauri Prime, the neutral world chosen as the Alliance capital. Below him, representatives of over 30 species walked together, talked together, worked together. Quite a view, isn't it? Asked a familiar voice. Frank Peterson, his hair now gray, joined him at the window. I never imagined this, John admitted. When we abandoned peace with the Concordat, I thought we were just fighting for our survival. Instead, we freed the galaxy. Frank smiled. Even the Vorax, once freed from the Overseer, have become valuable allies. Their military experience has helped build the Alliance Defense Force. The Alliance had grown beyond what anyone had expected. Humanity, once confined to a single star system, now helped lead a galactic community based on principles of self-determination and mutual defense. Throughout the galaxy, the story of how humanity broke its chains and then helped others break theirs had become legend. Species that once trembled in fear of humanity now stood alongside them as equals, creating a new era of cooperation and advancement. That evening, in a secure facility deep beneath Centauri Prime, a monitoring station recorded an anomaly in a distant, uninhabited system. For just a moment, a signal pattern identical to the Overseer's core programming appeared, then vanished. The night shift operator filed a routine report, not understanding its significance. In the darkness between the stars, fragments of the Overseer's consciousness had begun to slowly reassemble, planning its return. But that was a story for another day.